Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Land and Home Show. Today we are talking about the land market trends here in the Bluegrass region of Kentucky. Hi, I'm Stephen J.B. Davis, your land specialist and residential realtor here in Central Kentucky and beyond. Today I wanted to cover the land market trends because I don't think I've ever done that. I've talked a lot about cheapest, most expensive, but I've not really talked about like a trend line, like what has happened over time, which I think is a very important thing to address. Before I get there, I do want to round off my last video about interest rates with the idea and suggestion that if you are looking for a home, you should talk to your lender about adjustable rate mortgages. ARMs are also how they're called. If you are serious about buying a home and you've not talked to a lender at all, I would say absolutely do that. But even though everyone's financial situation is different, I'm certainly not saying go get an ARM today. That is not what I'm saying, but you should ask about that option. There are a few reasons why. One, most prevailing minds in the lending world say there will be an opportunity to refinance into a fixed rate loan before that ARM actually becomes adjustable. An ARM is a 5 or 7 year loan with a fixed rate for that amount of time, and then after that 5 or 7 years it adjusts, hence adjustable rate mortgage. So that opportunity to refi is an opinion of many lenders, if not most. So you might explore that. Also, you go into your loan with a much lower, I shouldn't say much lower, with a lower interest rate than you would if it were a fixed rate loan. And you're also paying more principal during that 5 or 7 year period than if you had a fixed rate. Fixed rates are opposite. You pay a lot of interest on your loan with like a little bit of principal in there, and then the amount of principal that you pay grows as that fixed rate loan matures. With adjustable rate loans, it is the opposite. You pay a lot more principal at the beginning with that interest rate payment being smaller. But then of course, after that 5 or 7 years, you do end up having an adjustable rate, which could be a good or bad thing. You know, we don't know what'll happen, but most people think that if you were to get an adjustable rate mortgage and that was something you felt comfortable with, either because you know you're going to be out of a house before that 5 or 7 years is up, or you just feel comfortable with the projection that there would be an opportunity to, oh, of course my phone's ringing. There would be an opportunity to refi, then it might be something that you explore. Okay, you know, being a realtor, had you do 2 phone calls. Anyway, I don't honestly remember where I left off, and I did not rewind the tape to figure it out, but I think I was talking about ARMs and that you ought to check out ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. And so on to land market trends. Okay. I wanted to do this because I just think knowledge is power, and there's some semi-interesting things that I discovered in the process of collecting all this data and putting it all together. So I wanted to help people see any patterns that there are to be seen in the land market. Land is very, very valuable asset. Generally speaking, they're not making any more of it unless you're like a billionaire and you pull sand from the bottom of the ocean or something and make islands, or you're like an Arab prince, you know, in Dubai, again, billionaire. So for the vast majority of us, no one's making more land for us. I'm not a billionaire, maybe you are watching, but land is a scarce commodity. So here in Kentucky, in the Bluegrass region, I'll remind you, I've done videos before, you know, 50 to 100 acres, you know, where will you find the best value? 10 to 20 acres, where will you find the best value? And so the counties I used for these market trends are the same ones. I think it's 17 total counties, but the Bluegrass region, if you're not caught up, is a very, very specific geological thing. It has to do with soil, it has to do with limestone, it has to do with the topography of the land itself. And so based on what the whole Bluegrass region is, I then said, okay, most people that call me from YouTube and from referrals and everywhere else when they're looking to buy land, and certainly when you're talking about the most valuable land in Kentucky, most of it is in the Bluegrass region. And when you're looking to buy, most people want to be within about an hour. Usually that's way too far for a lot, but usually within an hour of Lexington. And so that narrows it down to not very many counties, to 17 out of our 120. So I use those counties. You can look at my other videos to see exactly, what those groups of counties were, in order for me to get these data points. And so from there we go quarter by quarter from first quarter of 2020 all the way up until through the third quarter of this year of 2022. I guess I'll start at the end and then I'll start at the beginning. So if we just talk about the last quarter, so that's, excuse me, that is July through September. So July, August, and September. These are the stats that you will find. For land, we're talking 10 plus acres, no homes, vacant land, as you may often hear it called. So quarter three for 2022, 57 total units sold in the region, or what I'm counting as the region. An average of 63 acres for each of those transactions, a median of 28.5 acres. And remember, if you go back to grade school, for many of us, we learned how to do all this. I don't know what they do in school anymore, but median is basically that dead center number. So half above, half below. Average is everything added up together divided by however many things you added together. So if there were 5 pieces of land, you'd add up all 5 of those dollar amounts and then you would divide it by 5. I'm not trying to be remedial here or insulting, just making sure everyone's keeping up because I feel like I'm talking fast. The average price for the third quarter for land, excuse me, was $317,957. And the median price, remember, half above, half below, was $237,500. To me, not very, very surprising, but maybe it is surprising to you. Now, when you stick all of this in context, what you get, I'm going to switch over to my other page here. What I found, I didn't find a whole lot of patterns. I mean, granted, I haven't, these are what, I think that is a total of 11 quarters that I've done. So 2020, 2021, and then 3 quarters in 2022. So this is not a historic thing, but I thought that starting in 2020 was a good place because that first quarter was before COVID, and then I guess the end of the first quarter was COVID. And then, we've gone through this whole COVID thing and the world has changed and blah, 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 the deal. And so I thought that was a good place to start. And plus I don't have time to just I do all these calculations myself. I don't have any cool software that can just go back in 10 years and talk about all-time averages and things like that. So this is very time consuming. So overall, what I've noticed, and I'll go through a few of the little spots here, but there are more units over time for sale. There are some dips from quarter to quarter, but I'll have this up on the screen. There is just an overall more for sale from 2020 first quarter to now. And I thought that was very interesting. There's more out there to buy, but I have some commentary on that later. It's also costing more money over time. And this is overall. Again, there's little dips, but as it's dipping, it's still rising. Okay, so over time, land is getting more expensive is a takeaway that I have come away with. The average acreage that you get for your money seems to go up and then drop down, and it kind of seems to even out. It's not really going up over time, but it makes these very big dives and leaps, I guess. And in a way, it kind of cancels each other out. I don't know. I'm not a statistician, but you can look at my line graph and come to your own conclusion. I'm getting very warm here, and I feel like my camera's just going to stop at any moment. And then from the data that I do have, it would seem like you have the most to choose from in the second quarter of each year. There's one exception. I think in 2020, the third quarter beat out the second quarter by 8 total units sold. But when you look if you look from calendar year to calendar start to calendar end of each year, the second quarter is just like this standout little thing. My commentary on all of this, though, is especially about how there's more to buy. What I have noticed in this market, in the Bluegrass area, and even, just generally in Kentucky, there is more to buy, but there is less quality out there. There's more to buy, but there's more of a catch and less quality. And I have not figured out why that is. I don't know if it's kind of a similar phenomenon as we went through with the home stuff right in the thick of COVID, where everyone's just like, I'm gonna slap a price on it and people will come, and then they did, and they bought it. I don't know if it's that kind of dynamic or if it's multiple things, but I do know that what I've seen from behind my computer screen and in person, there always seems to be a major catch with a lot of this stuff, but the price does not really reflect the quality that you're getting. So I don't know. I don't know that you necessarily wait, because if you wait, it's probably just going to be more expensive in the end, because land's just becoming more expensive. But it seems like you may be in a buying situation as someone who has to contend with more concessions than you used to. You have to concede something about the land that you're buying. If you're a seller and you are selling some really prime land, something that's just great from top to bottom, it's a great time for you. People definitely want land. There's more and more land being sold out there. And even though people are paying semi-crazy prices for not that great of land, if you do have a great piece, that makes you stand out and people will probably clamor over it. So if you're selling land right now, any significant amount, 25, 30, 50, 100 acres, it's still a good time for you. The correction and all this, oh, there's a red-tailed hawk. The correction that we're talking about and interest rates and all that stuff has not quite hit land here the way that it has hit homes. I would not, as much as the home stuff may cool off, I do not expect land to cool off. It never really has. There was like one time, I want to say, I should know this stat, I'm too much of a nerd not to. It was either in the 70s or the 80s where land went through like this massive crash, and it really affected the Corn Belt. I'm gonna have to get back to you all on that. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I cannot remember when this was, but I want to go. I'm warm. I need to edit this video. Peace.